Welcome guys. So I'll be showing you how I cut this long sleeve with this Ankara 2 yards. Ankara 2 yards is 36 inches by 45. So this is 36 on that side like that, and we have two of that. So that is 2 yards, and I'll be using these 2 yards to cut out the long sleeve attire I'll be making. So I'll fold it like that. So after folding it into two, I'll be cutting out the front piece. Now note very well that this can only work for measurements that are not bigger than 42. After folding it into two, I'll be cutting out the front piece. And what this actually means is I'll be cutting out only the upper part of this folding. So the down part of the folding would be for the back piece. I will not be touching that part because the back part, which is the back piece, is longer than the front part of your sewing towel. So I'll take my top length. Mind you, this top length I'm taking, I'll be adding ½ inch to it, and that ½ inch will be for the sewing allowance of the shoulder line. And I'll also add additional 2 inches. So that added 2 inches will be what I will mark on other subsequent positions. So this will be my top length plus ½ inch plus 2 inches. So half for the sewing allowance of the shoulder line and 2 inches for the folding of the down line. And I'll be marking that line like that. After which I'll be cutting only the upper part of this folding on that line. So I'll cut that line straight like that. Then I'll also cut on the other side like that. So what this means is I'll be removing this upper part and I'll be working on it. So after removing this upper part, I'll go straight to the cutting of the front piece. So what I actually did is just for security, making sure what I need is available. I can't just start cutting without making sure this piece will also be enough for me to cut the sleeve and the bodice. So as I folded it this way, the down part will be for the sleeve, while this upper part I'm working on is for the bodice. So I'll be working on the back piece now. Now I'll fold into two as well. Now after cutting that front piece, what I used for the front piece, I'll be adding 2 inches, which is 39. So I'll be adding 2 inches to what I got from the front piece, and then I'll be cutting that for the back piece. And this is just to reiterate the fact I made initially that I want security. I want to be sure everything I need is available, because after cutting the front and the back piece from this piece, I'm very sure that what is left would be enough for me to cut the sleeve. This is a long sleeve, this is not a short sleeve. You have to be sure what is left is enough. So I'll mark my 39 and I'll cut off, and that would mean I've actually cut out what I'll be using for my front and also what I'll be using for my back piece. Then I'll go straight to the workings. I'll start working on the front piece now. So this is the front piece fabric I'll be working with. So the first thing I'll be doing will be to mark out my neckline. And for my neckline, I mostly use 2 1/4 by 4 inches. And this is because this will give you the smallest possible comfortable neck you can have. So I use 2 1/4 by 4. So I'll make my curve to join both points. Then I would mark my back measurement. After marking my back measurement, I'll go down by 2 inches. Then I'll join that 2 inches point to the neckline. For that neckline, you can always increase it. So that is why I always start with the most comfortable minimum. So after that, I'll take my back measurement on that slant line. Then from the top, I'll mark 10 inches. I'll mark 10 inches on both sides from the top. Then I'll join with a straight line. So after joining with a straight line, I'll check. Then I'll mark my 42 inches, which is the hip. Then I'll take the perpendicular measurement of the back, transfer it to that chest line, and join with a straight line. So after which I will divide that line into two, come forward by 1 inch, then make a curve from that back to the chest point, that's to that 42 inches point. Then I'll come down to my tummy line, that is from my shoulder to my tummy, and I used 17 and a half, so you can always check yours to know what to use. Then that will be my tummy line. So from my chest to my hip, everything I'm working on is actually 42 inches. So I'll just be marking the same measurement. Then I'll come to my hip. That will be from my shoulder to my hip point. Then I'll also mark with a straight line. After which I would start the cutting process. So I'll cut out the neckline, then the back, the armhole, and that's that. So you could see I'll now mark out the hip measurement, because my slit on the side will actually start from that hip point. So I'll join the line I am creating is not what I'm cutting off. That will be my sewing line. So whatever is left is what I would use for my sewing allowance, and I want to mark 3/4 inch for my sewing allowance. So I'll just mark it like that and trim, and that is just to give it a straight line on the side, nothing else. So after doing that, I've succeeded in creating my front piece. So I'll just check the downline and straighten things also on the downline. So I'm just showing you. So that is the top length, and the remainder is actually the folding allowance I was talking about from the beginning. So we'll go straight to the cutting of the back piece. To cut out the back piece, everything is generic. We are not actually using any measurements. All we are doing is using the front piece to cut out the back piece. This is the fabric of the back piece we are working with. As you can see, I have 38 inches inscribed on it, and that is because the front piece is actually 33 and a half. So half inch for the shoulder line was what made it 34, then 2 inch on the downline was what made it 36. So this one is 2 inches longer than that. So I've actually cut out the shoulder slant of the back piece using the slant of the front piece. The next thing will be to work on the neckline. So for the neckline, I'll fold the back piece to meet the front piece. Then I will make a notch on the point at which the neckline of the front piece actually meets the back piece. So when I make the notch on that side, I would also make a notch on the folding on the other side. Now both notch points will actually give me the curve of the neckline of the back piece. So I'll cut like that and get the curve. So after doing that, I'll be marking the armhole. That's the midpoint of the armhole, and I'll be going further by 3/4 inch. And this is to make sure the back armhole is wider than the front armhole. So I'll turn the back like that. So you can take your back measurement at this point, but I already know mine, that's why I just cut. So you take your back measurement, you add half inch for the sewing allowance, and you also trim the side and the downline of the back piece. After cutting out the front and the back pieces, the next thing I'll be doing will be to cut out the sleeve. And to do that, you must know the armhole measurement of the front and the back piece combined together. So I'll start by taking the armhole measurement of the front piece. Then I'll do that from the top to the down line like that. And from where I stopped, I'll continue on the back piece. Then after doing that, I'll use that measurement to cut out the sleeve. You must know that the front and the back piece would be joined by half inch each, and that will account for 1 inch. So you will remove 1 inch from this measurement when you are cutting the sleeve. So we are done with the front and the back piece and the armhole, and I'll be going straight to the cutting of the sleeve. This cutting of the sleeve is very technical, and I want to start by cutting just one part of the sleeve. So I'll fold, making sure my folding is as high as 10 inches. So after making sure my folding is as high as 10 inches, I'll make a straight line, and that will be the line I will be starting from. I made that straight line because I wanted to be sure the front and the back piece is on the same line. Sometimes you finish cutting your sleeve and you realize one is longer than the other. So I'll take my sleeve measurement, which is 24 inches, but I'll be adding half inch on this starting point, and that would mean the half inch I'll be using to join the sleeve to the bodice, that's to the body of the cloth. So from that half inch now, I will take my measurement again, which would mean altering the initial measurement I took. So I actually made 24 inches line like that. So I'll take on the down line just to be sure that line is straight. Now for my wristband is 2.5 inches, and I'll be marking 2.5 inches just to show you how it works. So on that 2.5 inches mark I took from the sleeve measurement, I'll also make a straight line. So this is the wristband measurement. But like the wristband is 2.5 inches just like this, but the wristband is something I will be attaching. So I'll be attaching half inch of this sleeve to the wristband, and that is the half inch I took from that point like that. So that's that. Now for the round measurement of the wrist, I'll mark 6.5. Then from that half inch point, I would mark 6 or 6.5 inches for our sleeve cap. Then I'll make a straight line, and that is for the sleeve cap. So I would be making all my curve to end on that 6 inches mark. Now for the round arm, which is mostly called our elbow, I'll be taking 8 inches from the beginning like that, and I'll also be making a straight line. Now on that straight line, I'll take my round arm measurement, which is 7. Then I'll also be adding sewing allowance. Now from that 6.5 inches, I'll make a curve to that sewing allowance point. Now for our sleeve cap, I'll divide the 10 into 2, and that is the half point. Then I'll make my curve to meet that point first before I do anything. So you can see where the curve actually begins from. And I'll reduce the sharpness of the edge of the top. So I'll reduce the sharpness. So now all I'm left to do now is make a curve to that sleeve cap line. So I'll also be marking the 10 inches on that sleeve cap line, then make a curve. So I'll be making subsequent curve just to be sure I know the curve is not too deep. So you can see the second one I actually made was better. And then I'll also be correcting it. Everything is just a guideline to get what you want. Then our armhole measurement, I'll be taking on this armhole line. Then where it stops, I'll actually make a cut like that. So I'll cut up onto the half inch point, and that's that. And that's just exactly how to cut your sleeve. For the sleeve, the armhole of the front and the back piece is not actually the same. So from the tip of the top, I make a half inch curve to the tip of the downline of the armhole. So as you can see, that of the front piece is reduced. So that of the back piece is wider. So what I'll be doing now would be using this one sleeve I just cut out to also cut out the armhole of the other sleeve. So I'll place both right side facing right side, and I'll also trim out. So that will mean the right side of the sleeve of both pieces is actually reduced. To cut our wristband is just very straightforward. The wristband is 2.5 inches high, and just make sure yours is longer than 10 inches. It's either it is 10 inches or it is longer than 10 inches. So that is basic standard. It's either it is 10 or longer than 10. Don't make it smaller than 10, especially when you are working for an adult. So I folded it into 2. Then I will mark 2.5 inches on both sides, and I'll be joining that 2.5 inches point with a straight line. That's just that. Then I will make a straight line to join that side, and also check for my measurement. I'm actually working with 10 1/4 measurement. So I'll be marking 1 inch on both sides too, and half inch on the down line as well, because I'm actually creating a slant. So I'll use a straight line to join the 1 inch to the half inch mark, and also the 1 inch to the half inch mark on that side. So that is the wristband I'll be using for this outfit. So it is somewhat like trapezium or so. So the height is 2.5 inches. The length is 10 1/4. Like I said, just make sure yours is either 10 or longer than 10 inches. That is basically the standard, because what you are actually using for your long sleeve will be folded somewhat, so you just need to make sure your hands can go through, because if it is smaller, it's a total damage. So for the arrowhead that will usher in the wristband, I'll be folding it by 3/4 inch. So the height is 3/4 inch. It shouldn't be smaller than that, because if it is smaller than that, it will be very hard to work with. So just make sure yours is 3/4, and don't, I think 3/4 inch is perfect. Don't even make it 1 inch. Making it 1 inch will make it look awkward. So just leave it at 3/4 inch, then 6.5 or 6 inches for the height. Then you make your mark like that and cut. Just the same way we cut the placket is also the same way you cut this arrowhead. So you fold into 2 and you make your notch. After cutting the length of the arrowhead, so I'll mark 1/2 inch downwards. Then I'll make that point. After making that point, I'll be cutting to the center point of that folding like that. So I'll fold into 2. Then from that 1/2 inch point, I'll cut to the center point. After doing that, then I will now detach both into 2 by cutting it out and separating both like that. So that's that. So the arrowhead and the wristband is ready. For the wristband, I have to look for the best position to cut, because I'm actually being prudent in how I use the fabric, because I'm working with 2 yards fabric. So I'll look for the best position, making sure it is 1/2 inch wider all through. Then I'll just cut off like that, and I'll fold it down and use a pressing iron to hold it down. So I'll do that for the other wristband. And mind you, the wristband is a 2-piece wristband, so I'll be folding something somewhat of that size I did now. Now for the arrowhead, you must make sure both arrowheads are facing each other or are away from each other when you are cutting. So we'll just cut like that. Also, if you don't know how to sew your arrowhead, check some of my other long sleeve videos, and I'm very sure you will understand. For our placket, I'll draw a straight line. Then after drawing a straight line, I'll mark 1 1/4 inches all through. Then I'll draw another line on that 1 1/4 inches mark. After which I'll cut on the lines I drew. So after cutting both, I'll fold the edge of the down line, come down by 1/2 inch and cut. Then I'll get my desired height of the flap, place it and cut.